In this video, I'm going to attempt to survive 300 days in Minecraft Hardcore. I have survived 100 days, I've even survived 200 days, but the question is, can I survive 300 days in Hardcore Minecraft? Well, let's find out. But before we do, here are some things that we got done in 200 days. I crafted full netherite armor and tools, and got the best enchants I could have possibly asked for. I handcrafted a full max level beacon, and had one of the most intense battles against an ocean monument. So, that's what we did in 200 days. Let's get into what I want to achieve in 300 days. The first thing I want to do is build some automated farms to make resource gathering a whole lot easier. The second thing I want to do is battle the Ender Dragon and the Wither at the exact same time, and the final thing is to defeat a woodland mansion. I am interested to see what we can get done, so with that being said, let the 300 days begin. Our adventure starts right from where we left off, and like usual, the first thing I decided to do back on the island was go and say hello to my cows. I just wanted to see how they were doing. I went in to see them, and just look at the smile on their faces. They were so excited to see me back. But the cows weren't the only thing I had to go and say hello to. From the last 100 days, I actually got some new guests in my base, so I went to see how they were doing as well. I went down to say hi to all of my villagers, and when I went down there, I realized that there was a massive infestation of iron golems. This was pretty scary. After walking around my island and saying hello to everyone, I needed to get back to work. There was a lot of stuff I needed to get done, so I went straight over to my farm and extended it as much as I could. There was some more space for potatoes, so I spent the rest of day 201 filling up this farm as much as I could. Because not only could I use the potatoes to trade with the villagers and get infinite emeralds, it was also my source of food. So for the rest of day 201, I planted as much as the farm as I possibly could. Also, to finish off the time I had left on day 201, I went down to the mines and started on my next project. This would be the Creeper Farm. An infinite source of gunpowder, leading to an infinite source of fireworks. With fireworks, not only could I venture wherever I wanted to go, I could also escape bad situations efficiently. At this point, if I wanted to survive any longer, a creeper farm would be extremely necessary, so I spent the next few days mining as much iron and all of the other resources I could, not only for the creeper farm, but also just to get stacked on valuables. On this mining trip, not only did I want to get valuables such as gold and diamonds, I also needed the essentials, so I mined every piece of coal, iron, and even redstone I could get my hands on. My plan was to mine as many valuables as I could, but as I was on this mining trip, something terrible happened. I tripped into lava. This was bad. Lava can deal some serious damage, and I was at danger here. Just kidding, I had netherite armor. It didn't really deal too much damage. I ventured around this cave and I came across something dangerous. A group of strange creatures. They came running at me, and the scariest thing was a skeleton teamed up with a creeper to propel towards me. I was in some serious danger, but the creeper did actually end up blowing up a hole in the wall which revealed some diamonds from behind, which was pretty lucky. Once I had mined the diamonds, I realized why the creeper blew up this exact location of the cave. And that was because it was a lucky creeper. It had obviously played on my server before. How clumsy of me. And that's why I think you guys should join as well. Just look how much fun me and my friends are having. So make sure to check it out. There's a bunch of awesome events coming up that I'm sure you guys will be interested in. After dealing with all of the strange creatures and threats that I had in the caves, I decided to make my way back up to my base, where I would look at all of my valuables again and realize just how much time I'd spent mining. I wouldn't need to go on another mining trip for a very long time. And I pretty much had everything I would need for the gunpowder farm. I took some time to place my diamonds into my ender chest, because even though I just got finished mining, the adventures weren't over yet. I had to dive into the depths of the nether to try and get all of the rest of the resources that I would need for this creeper farm. This would include magma blocks. After obtaining all of the magma blocks I needed, I headed back to the overworld to craft all of the other things I would need for the creeper farm. Things like trapdoors and also fence gates. I also realized I didn't have as much wood as I thought, so I spent some time chopping down some trees to get all of the wood I would need for the trapdoors. I would need a lot of trapdoors, and when I say a lot, I really mean a lot of trapdoors. To finish off day 212, I crafted the final things I would needed and began construction on the creeper farm. after spending days upon days of hard work on this creeper farm, it was finally complete. So I set up my temporary sugarcane farm so I could get some paper, and it was time to test out this creeper farm. I wanted to see truly how efficient this thing was going to be. So that's when I decided to spend a few days testing it out. It got to day 227, it was time to check how much gunpowder I had made. I checked the chests and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So much gunpowder. I couldn't wait any longer to turn this into fireworks, so I headed to my temporary sugarcane farm, made as much paper as I could, and made a bunch of fireworks. Once I had placed the paper and the gunpowder in the crafting table and created all of these fireworks, it was time to put them into good use. In the last 100 days, I summoned the portal, which I got in return for defeating the Ender Dragon. It was time to go in there and see what adventures awaited. So I dived into the portal, and I found myself on top of some sort of massive plant. I was a little bit confused, but I moved on. I spent some time flying around the end, and after not too long, I stumbled across something amazing. An end city, and it included a ship. I went inside to explore, and after taking care of one of the shulkers, I had another pair of elytras at my disposal. This would be a spare elytra if I ever needed it. I also took some time to go in the chests and see what valuables were awaiting me in there. There was some pretty good stuff. After I'd taken care of the end ship, I decided to go into the end city itself and see what other loot I could get my hands on. There was some incredible loot, but I had to make my way home before anything bad happened, so that's exactly what I did. When I got back to my base, I crafted some more shulker boxes and even made some farming equipment. With this farming equipment, I could finish off my farm and completely fill it with all of the potatoes I would need. And by day 230, I decided it would be best to craft a cartography table. I needed to start my next adventure, and this would be the Woodland Mansion. Now, for me to defeat a Woodland Mansion, this would require a lot of preparation, and the first piece of this preparation was to get my hands on the Woodland Mansion map. So, for that reason, I decided to make some small improvements onto the villager's home, but the thing was, one of the people living in the villager's home wasn't very happy with me doing this. And well, it was an iron golem that got angry at me. It obstructed me from breaking one of the composters, which made it angry with me, and it chased me down. Also, not to mention, it did a chunk of damage. If I was to take another hit from this, it could have been all over. But thankfully, I handled it pretty well. But I also realized, if I was to get one of the iron golems angry, then wouldn't the rest be annoyed at me? Well, no. They were absolutely fine with me. I don't know why that iron golem was so annoyed at me for just wanting to place some beds for the villagers. Maybe it just didn't want to sleep. On the bright side though, we had a brand new villager in the villager home, and this one would be the cartographer. In the meantime, I went back into the nether to mend up my shovel. I wanted to get a bunch of sand and gravel to start working on my next building project. This would be a mass storage room. The storage in my house was just getting a little bit old, and there was too much stuff in the chests at this point, so I needed somewhere new to store all of my items. So that's when I decided to dig up all the gravel I could find in the nether. Thankfully for me, I found a bunch. And I also weirdly found a random piece of ancient debris, which was pretty cool. I spent quite a while getting gravel, so that's when I decided to switch things up and get another material that I would need for this massive new build that I was going to make. And that thing was cactus. Cactus could be used to get green and also lime dye, so I spent quite a few days gathering as much of this as I possibly could because, well, it would be a major resource that I would need for the base. Before I knew it, it was day 234, and again, my shovel was down on durability, so for this day, I spent quite a while, again, mending up my shovel. Yeah, nothing really that interesting. By day 235, I had the cartographer in the villager home, and I took a quick glance at the trades that it was offering me, and it was 7 emeralds for a map. I knew that if I did enough trades with the cartographer, he would begin to like me a little bit more, and in the end, sell me what I ultimately wanted, and that would be the Woodland Mansion map. So for the rest of day 235, I spent farming up all the potatoes I would need to then sell to the villagers to get emeralds, to then make some good trades with the cartographer. And by day 236, the trades were well underway. I took another look at the villagers' trades and saw that it was doing 10 glass panes for an emerald. I realized instead of going farming again, I could go ahead over to the nearest desert and collect as much sand as I needed to not only get a bunch of glass panes, but to also get sand as well. Because if you remember earlier, I got a bunch of gravel, and gravel plus sand equals concrete, and that's the block that I would be using for my massive build. So by day 237, when I got back to my base, I smelted up all the sand that I could to turn into glass. This would be the glass that I go ahead and sell to the villagers, and I would save the other pieces of sand to combine with the gravel for concrete for my base later on. A little later on into day 237, and I had leveled up the cartographer to the perfect level to get my hands on the woodland mansion. I went back up to get all the stuff I would need, and well, there was a cat in my base, which was pretty cool. By the end of day 237, the time had come. I had saved up all the emeralds to buy the Woodland Explorer map, and I glanced down at it to see exactly where I'd be heading next. The Woodland Mansion. Something that requires some serious preparation, and I needed to take this seriously. I spent day 238 carefully handcrafting all of the things I would need to take on my journey to the Woodland Mansion. This included golden apples, brewing up some potions, and even some arrows as well. Oh, and I may have accidentally brewed up the wrong strength potions, so I didn't want those to go to waste, and I corrected myself by making strength 2 potions. Strength 2 is a crucial potion and would be needed if I was going to defeat the Woodland Mansion. To end off my preparation for the Woodland Mansion, I went into my skeleton spawner and collected as many arrows as I could. And before I knew it, the time for me to leave my base was here. I didn't know how long I would be gone for. In fact, if I made any mistakes in the Woodland Mansion battle, everything could be gone forever. So, because of this, I went to say bye to everything I had made, because it may be the last time that I get to see any of this again. It became day 239, and at this point I was well underway with my flight over to the Woodland Mansion. I had no idea how far away this Woodland Mansion was from my base, so I had to keep a close eye on the map to see if I got any closer. And here it was. I looked at my map and saw that I was getting closer and closer, and before I knew it, I was glancing over at what could be my biggest obstacle in the 239 days I'd survived up to this point. This was going to be extremely difficult. I took a close look at the entrance door and realized that there was nothing really there, so I had a pretty easy way in. It was time. Well, it wasn't actually time. I had to dig down and get some iron in the nearest cave because I forgot my shield. But anyway, I took some quick rest out the front of the Woodland Mansion to end off day 239. And by day 240 I constructed my shield and I was ready for battle. After I'd got rid of the 2 zombies defending the front of the Woodland Mansion, I stormed in there. Nothing was going to stop me. I made sure I had my strength potions on the ready, and I explored around for a little bit and didn't come across too many foes. I took all of the loot I could, but the goodies inside this Woodland Mansion was nothing too crazy. The main thing I was here for was the Totems of Undying. Surprisingly, everything was going amazing, until I locked eyes with my first foe inside of this Woodland Mansion. But to my surprise, there wasn't only one of them, there was another one sabotaging me from behind. I needed to be on high alert at all times, and I had my shield equipped ready for any type of strike. After doing some exploring, I found this massive village ahead being obstructed by a creeper. I knew that if I could get inside this village ahead, there could be some kind of reward waiting for me inside. Which there was, a lapis block hidden inside of this structure. Without any hesitation, I walked up the stairs and prepared for the second floor. This one would be even more difficult than the first. The pillagers were quick, but not quick enough. My combat skills were just too good for them, and I was able to take them out pretty easily. I came across some more, and they couldn't even get one single hit on me, and if they did, it barely did any damage. There was nothing to worry about here. But unfortunately, the pillagers weren't the biggest thing that I was worried about. There was something much more dangerous inside of this Woodland Mansion, and I was scared to face it. I calmly spent some time looting around the Woodland Mansion, and came across one of the rarest items I had ever set my eyes on before. The Enchanted Golden Apple. The Enchanted Golden Apple cannot be crafted, meaning that I was super lucky to get my hands on this thing. It truly was an incredible moment. I turned a corner in the Woodland Mansion, and I gazed upon some evil foes. Not only creepers and zombies, but also some pillagers helping them out as well. Things got extremely intense, and if I wasn't careful, it could have all been over here. Not only did I have the pillagers to worry about, but zombies and creeper explosions as well. I had a whole group of foes on me. I had to watch my step and try and get out of there as fast as I possibly could. I was able to use the creeper's explosion to my advantage, but there was still some more enemies left over. A pillager storming towards me, and 2 zombies slowly making their way over. An enemy like no other approached me, a Vex. These minions could deal some serious damage, and they were just too quick for me. I was able to get face to face with the foe that was summoning in these minions. I took it out with ease. My strength potion combined with my bow was too strong for it, and it even dropped what I came here for. the Totem of Undying, which, when in my possession, would grant me with another life. As much as I wanted to pick up the totem and leave, I couldn't just simply do that. There was too many foes waiting in the Woodland Mansion, meaning if I left now, I wouldn't have fully defeated the Woodland Mansion. I had to get rid of the rest of these Vexes and even take out the 3rd floor. After defeating these minions, I was able to pick up the Totem of Undying, the one item in the game that at this point, I truly needed. But things weren't over yet. There was still some rooms I hadn't explored, and I hadn't even made it to the final top floor. I had a feeling that there was still going to be some good stuff around this Woodland Mansion. The last thing I had to do on the 2nd floor though was get rid of another evoker. I was much more prepared for this one and took it out pretty easily. After dealing with the evoker and the Vexes, I went to the 3rd floor and there was literally nothing up there. There was around about 4 rooms or something like that, and there was absolutely nothing. So I went back down to the 2nd floor, grabbed the Totem of Undying, got rid of the last 2 Vindicators, and there it was. I had one last look around, and I'd completely taken out this Woodland Mansion. I was victorious. Once again, I had won another battle. I took this time to put the Totem of Undying in my hand. When I got back to my base, I wanted to display the fact that I had an enchanted golden apple, so I made a little display for this. But even though I just came out victorious from defeating a Woodland Mansion, that wouldn't stop me or slow me down. I had to move on to my next project, and that of course was my massive new storage room. So I spent some time making some dyes and also set up a temporary cactus farm where I could get an infinite source of green dye, which would be used for my base. Before I knew it, it was day 242, and seeing as I was getting all of these building supplies ready for my base, I realized I didn't have too much space. So that's when I made my way over to a new end city to see if I could get some more shulker boxes, and surprisingly, there was an end ship on this one as well, completely unlooted, meaning I now have my 3rd pair of elytras. The chests that were lying beside the elytras had some incredible swords, so I took these and planned on turning them into netherite later on. Also, I was able to get my hands on some feather falling boots. Also, when I was at the end city, I came across these end rods, and I thought they would make great decoration back at my new build that I was going to make, so I decided to take some of these with me. I then also stumbled across the jackpot and found a bunch of diamonds. By day 246, I decided to get back to my base and rest for the next day, where I would then start construction on my brand new base. The first thing I did on day 247 was actually combine the 2 swords I got from the end city. This made a really good sword, and eventually I could turn this sword into netherite and combine my current sword with the new sword I got, making a very, very overpowered sword. After carefully handcrafting my brand new sword, I started construction on my base. I got all of the gravel and sand I needed to create all of the concrete. I then made the final resources I would need, and that's when construction started. I was super happy with the way the base turned out. It was just what I wanted, but just like any base, it needed some lighting, so I took my Silk Touch pickaxe into the depths of the nether to gather a bunch of glowstone. I gathered all the glowstone that I would need and created a bunch of iron trapdoors. This would be used to kind of make the lighting look a little bit better in the roof. I couldn't just place glowstone randomly everywhere to light it up. I had to make sure it fit the theme of the build. It was day 256 and I glanced out my base and took a look at everything that I had done up to this point. And I had also fully constructed this brand new storage room. I was super happy. I spent the rest of day 256 doing some final touches to the inside of the storage room. I wanted my end chest in there as well, so I placed that in the center. And I also did a little bit of decoration around it as well. I think I did a pretty good job on this storage room if I do say so myself. By the end of day 256, I had fully completed my storage room, which led us on to day 257, where I wanted to go into the nether and collect as much ancient debris as I could get my hands on. I wanted loads of ancient debris, which led me to then go into my creeper farm and get as much gunpowder as I possibly could, so then I could make a bunch of TNT to take into the nether. From day 258 to day 267, I spent in my creeper farm and made a bunch of gunpowder. I spent some time crafting up all the TNT, and the time was here. I was about to jump into the nether portal to just see how much ancient debris I could get my hands on. Ancient debris is of course rarer than diamonds and also stronger, so it wasn't going to be easy to get a bunch of this, but hopefully with this amount of TNT, I could get a perfect amount. I spent many days exploding the nether to get a bunch of ancient debris. I spent day 271, day 272, day 273, even day 274, and day 275 using all of the TNT. At day 276, I took a glance into my inventory and saw just the amount of ancient debris that I had gathered. An incredible stack of 64 and a stack of 37. So, with a smile on my face, I headed back to my base. The first thing that I did when I got home was of course smelt up all this ancient debris. I combined the netherite scraps with gold ingots and got a bunch of netherite. I got over 2 blocks of netherite, which was absolutely crazy. I spent this time upgrading the diamond sword that I made earlier and then combined it with my current sword, giving me a sharpness 5 sword with a bunch of other awesome enchants on it as well. I also upgraded the feather falling boots and combined it with my main boots, meaning I now had feather falling, so if I fell off anything tall, I'd be absolutely safe. After upgrading all of my gear, I realized that I didn't have that many days left until we hit day 300, so there was so much stuff I wanted to get done in such a short amount of time. One of these things was to get a bunch of diamonds, because before 400 days, I would like to have a full diamond beacon, so I wanted to get a head start by getting some diamonds now, so that's what I did between the days 278 and 281. After I did another big mining trip, I combined all my diamonds into diamond blocks, and I actually got quite a lot of them. Although I didn't have enough for a full diamond beacon just yet, these would still come in handy later on. For the next few days, I wanted to tick some achievements off the list. Some of these achievements include shooting a crossbow, using a lodestone, craft some netherite farming equipment, fill a lava bucket, and finally, the riskiest one of them all is to use a totem of undying. I was slightly scared at first, but this is how it went. Yep, just as I thought, it actually worked. But I still had a spare totem. Now, there was only a matter of days left, and well, for the final few days, I wanted to prove myself for the 3rd time, by not only battling an ender dragon, but also a wither. And I mean, I didn't just want to defeat them separately, I wanted to do it at the exact same time, in the exact same place. 2 bosses, 1 location. So that's when resource gathering started. I needed to get all the wither skeleton skulls and also all of the ghast tears, so I dived into the nether with my looting sword and got to work. Between days 286 and 295, I got surprisingly lucky with not only ghast tears, but also wither heads. It looks like my looting 3 sword is really good. Within these days, I was able to get all of the wither skulls really quickly. It was at this point where there was only a matter of days before I was face to face with not only the wither, but the ender dragon as well. On day 296, I crafted the end crystals that I would need to resummon the ender dragon into the world. For the end of day 296, I spent my time flying over to the end portal. It was time to prove myself for the 3rd time. As I took a leap into the end portal, I realized what I was doing. Not only was I about to fight the wither, but the ender dragon at the same time. One wrong move, and everything could be over. I prepared the wither, and I also prepared the end crystals. The time was here. I stared up into the sky and saw each obsidian pole summoning itself once again. The ender dragon was about to come back. And there it was! The ender dragon was in, so I had to quickly spawn the wither. The challenge had begun. Was I worthy enough to take both of them out at the same time? I felt unstoppable. I was flying around and destroying each individual end crystal. Things were so easy. Nothing could stop me at this point. Everything was going amazing until I looked at the wither and saw it wasn't interested in me, but it was interested in everything else around it. All of the endermen and even the ender dragon itself. I knew summoning the wither at the same time as the ender dragon was a huge mistake. Not only was the wither not interested in me, but I couldn't get a hit on it. I tried hitting it with bow shots and everything I could think of, but it just flew away from me each time, and not to mention, it kept regenerating its health. I tried fighting it in the sky, and I even tried jumping off blocks to hit it, but nothing was working. I couldn't quite reach the wither. It was at this point that I realized I was in some serious trouble, and if I was going to escape this, I would just have to focus on the ender dragon, because the wither took every single last resource that I had. I thought the only way I could escape the end and get back to my base alive was if I focused the ender dragon in the sky, so I dived into the air to take it out. This was a bad idea. A totem had been used and my health was depleting. I had barely any food left, which means no food means no regeneration. I had no second chance. I had the wither flying around going crazy. The only way I could escape was if I was to take out the ender dragon. So I tried focusing it as much as I possibly could. That was in 2 hours left on 2.5 hearts. 1 hit and everything was over. I was extremely scared, but the ender dragon only had a small piece of health left, so I was able to get to its tail and finish off the battle. Yet again, another portal was summoned in return for me defeating the Ender Dragon. I got all of the XP, and the third portal that had opened wasn't going to be the only thing that I was going to be exploring in the next 400 days. I'd have to come back and battle the Wither again at some point. But while I could, I decided to get back to my base. It was over. I was away from the Ender Dragon, and I got some rest. It was day 300. I took all of the diamond blocks that I had and started setting up a new beacon. I'm hoping by the end of day 400, I'll be able to complete this diamond beacon. Here it was, day 300. Another 100 days survived in hardcore Minecraft. This was a huge achievement. I had successfully survived another 100 days in Minecraft Hardcore. But there's also a bunch of stuff that I would like to get done in 400 days, so let me know down below in the comments if you guys want to see that. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. There it is, another 100 days survived in Minecraft Hardcore. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I really enjoyed making it. As I said, let me know down below in the comments if you guys want to see another 100 days. And apart from that, have a great rest of your day, and peace.